There's no point in living if you can't feel alive.
The YOLO before there was YOLO. Hi, I'm Kevin from the STP, and this is the 007 Diamond Jubilee. Our story starts in Spain, where Bond retrieves some money from a Swiss bank, which another 00 agent had died over. The money is brought back to MI6's London HQ and returned to a Sir Robert King, only for it to blow up in his face. Literally. Cue opening credits. In the search for the one behind the attack, Bond gets close to his daughter Elektra, who earlier in her life had been kidnapped by a terrorist named Renard. It's up to 007 to protect Elektra, draw out her attackers, and uncover a plot involving her inherited oil empire, a Russian nuclear submarine, and a caviar business. Before moving on, I'd like to call a timeout to discuss the pre-credit scenes. First of all, a fun fact. The World Is Not Enough hosts the longest scene before the opening credits, at around 14 minutes. The original plan was to run the credits after the bank scene instead, but the test audiences deemed this to be too short and dull of an intro. So let's look at what this change has brought upon us. The man whom 007 did a mission for was killed in a sneak attack within MI6's headquarters. Everyone responsible for it whom 007 had confronted so far killed themselves, leaving him with no leads, and to top it all off, he broke his arm falling onto the Millennium Dome. And I, for one, appreciate the tragic tone, which contrasts with the miracle maker he made himself out to be in the openings to films like Tomorrow Never Dies. I mean, look at this. He hijacks a plane with a nuclear warhead just before a friendly cruise missile destroys the place, he gets rid of an enemy jet and a backseat driver in one fell swoop, and tops it off with a one-liner.
Backseat driver.
Whew, why don't we just call him the Magic Man? So, moving on. Two Bond girls share the spotlight more or less equally. First is Elektra King, daughter of British oil magnate Sir Robert King, whom she has killed. In the backstory, she was kidnapped by Renard only to escape on her own. She swore revenge after, under MI6's guidance, her father refused to pay the ransom money. She's certainly the glamorous type, especially next to nuclear scientist Christmas Jones. Now, she has gained a reputation as one of the worst Bond girls because, let's be honest, Denise Richards isn't known for playing smart roles. The word straight from the horse's mouth, however, is that she took on the role as it was brainy, athletic, and had depth of character in contrast to Bond girls from previous decades. And you know what? I can't argue with that logic.
Do you want to put that in English for those of us who don't speak Spy?
Her sassy demeanor reminds me of Tiffany Case at her best, and at least she doesn't experience a nervous breakdown like Stacey Sutton. So to give my honest opinion, and I have no intention of doing otherwise, I don't think she's quite as awful as she's made out to be. Robbie Coltrane returns as Valentin Zukovsky, this time with a few serious industries under his belt. Still as fun as ever. We also have John Cleese as R, an apprentice in Q's lab. If there were ever a place for such a humorist in James Bond world, then the Q lab is the most appropriate place for it. And what a humorist we have on our hands. His scene is also notable for another reason. Just after the premiere of The World Is Not Enough, Q's actor Desmond Llewellyn would die in a car crash. In the movie's universe, Q was set to go on a retirement holiday, perhaps indicating that the character was set to be finished, but still, you can't tell the exact moment and circumstances in which he will die. This brings extra poignancy to the last lines Llewellyn says on screen.
Now pay attention, 007. I've always tried to teach you two things. First, never let them see you bleed.
And the second?
Always have an escape plan.
Epic win. The villain is Renard, a freelance terrorist. After Elektra's kidnapping, Agent 009 shot Renard in the head, but he lived. As the bullet moved slowly through his brain, it started killing off his senses, including the ability to feel pain, until it does kill him. In practice, this is more of an informed disability, until you consider the fact that the plutonium rod he handles at the end must be blazing hot. Funny what a little scientific education can make you realize. Or reading the words of others who possess such an education. The only other henchman to speak of is Bullion, Zukovsky's bodyguard. He wears gold jewelry and tooth caps since he doesn't trust banks, which would help immensely in today's economic climate, let me tell you. But seriously, you could completely ignore him the first time through and you wouldn't miss much.
Sorry, boss. I must have bumped my head.
Wrapping up their product placement trilogy, Bond drives a BMW Z8 with anti-air rockets. However, it gets cut in half by a buzzsaw helicopter, to which Bond quips,
Q's not gonna like this.
"It's about time you started realizing that, buddy." The theme song is performed by the band Garbage. The lyrics have a theme of greed, with the title phrase followed by, "But it's such a perfect place to start," and other lines like, "No one ever died from wanting too much." Kinda not a wise thing to espouse in a Bond film. Isn't that what happens to every villain in the series? They die from wanting too much? Well, guess what? It's supposedly from the point of view of Elektra King. This theory gets driven home in the full version, which contains a line omitted from the version in the movie which goes, "There's no point in living if you can't feel alive," a catchphrase shared by her and Renard. The opening credits feature oil motifs as per Elektra's occupation. Not some of the most appealing color combinations, if I do say so myself. Kind of like a shallow oil slick in the road with all those muted rainbow effects. Man, this movie has a complicated plot, made all the more tougher to understand since so much of it relies on backstory delivered through exposition dumps rather than events that directly transpire on screen. Where this film shines is in the role of Elektra King. Did Renard's influence during her kidnapping turn her evil? Or did she turn him, using him as a tool to gain a monopoly on her market and take revenge on her father for not bailing her out? This debate has been going back and forth within the fandom, and my decision is? It's your call. Have fun. At least try to. The World Is Not Enough scores 70%, a C+.
The insurance company is never going to believe this.